They almost always create a certain reaction within people, and that can also mean that they trigger people. So people are being triggered by their self-expression, not by something they do or they say, just by who they are and what they express. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to Rooted in the Cosmos, your podcast for all things higher consciousness, new earth vision, and spiritual leadership. My name is Isabel Gloria, and I'm so happy to welcome you to this brand new episode. I have received a lot of love for the podcast this last week, and I wanted to say thank you for that. That was super sweet. I received some messages saying that you really enjoyed the last couple of episodes, and that makes me really happy, and I hope you continue to enjoy this podcast. For today's episode, I want to focus on a spiritual concept that I call off-stage and on-stage lightworkers. And I'm wondering what category will resonate with you because I have a suspicion. The type of person that usually feels drawn to my work and my content is an on-stage lightworker. But for you to make sense of that, let's dive into what on-stage and off-stage lightworkers actually are. I'm going to dive into the concept of an on-stage lightworker first, because like I just said, I feel like this is going to be more relevant for you anyway. And I want to start with that. So an on-stage lightworker is a soul with a divine mission that is intertwined and very, very connected with their public presence and self-expression. An on-stage lightworker usually feels called to break out of the norm and to break out of the societal constrictions and of like a box that they feel like they are being put in. And they tend to become coaches, content creators, authors, artists, public speakers. The list goes on, but all of these professions are very much in the public, not in the public as in terms of being a celebrity, but it has a lot to do with self-expression and showing up and showing a part of your soul to the outside world. Because showing up online or being a coach or being a content creator, all these professions, all these jobs take a lot from a person. There's a lot of misconception around what it means to be an online person or what it means to have an online business. So much goes into it when it comes to self-expression and creating a whole world that people want to step into and creating this whole vibe that people feel attracted to. So whether this is like a strategy or just comes naturally to you, you have to have a certain degree of urge for self-expression to be able to do one of these professions. What that means is that on-stage lightworkers usually love self-expression and they kind of need it too. They draw strength from that. They need this artistic and creative part in their lives. And they also often, not always, but often have a unique style or a completely alternative way of living. So they may not live the usual 9 to 5 life or not live in the usual surroundings like everyone else. They tend to be a little bit of a weirdo, but in the most beautiful way. So that is not me saying something negative about them. Weirdo in that context is just meant in a very positive way. They stand out. They've always been a little bit different. They express themselves. They may have gone through different phases in their teenage years and had like really crazy styles or something like that. That is typical for this aspect of self-expression that on-stage lightworkers all share. And it doesn't have to be that someone who is an on-stage lightworker has a super crazy style or looks super, super different than others. It's more of like an energy of wanting to express yourself. They love expressing their thoughts and their worldview and their beliefs and their truth in some capacity. It can be through style, it can be through writing, it can be through deep conversations, through craving this deeper connection with people or leading them through like an experience that they really enjoy and wanting to share that with others. There's just this part of them that is less private about things. It doesn't mean that they cannot be introverts. They totally can. but it's just an energy. They want to express themselves in this world, and they want to bring into the world what is important to them. How this can show up in an on-stage lightworker's life is that they usually polarize quite a bit, and they also tend to trigger people without being intentional about it. Just their existence creates this polarizing effect in a group of people. So some people will absolutely love them and think they're so cool and even put them like almost on a pedestal, while others are really not into it. They are making fun of them. They like you either love them or hate them, that type of energy. There is not much neutrality. They almost always create a certain reaction within people, and that can also mean that they trigger people. So people are being triggered by their self-expression, not by something they do or they say. Trigger people. So people are being triggered by their self-expression, not by something they do or they say, just by who they are and what they express and how unapologetically they are about it. And when I say unapologetic self-expression, this is nothing that must come naturally to an on-stage light worker. It could very well be that you have all the potential within you to express yourself vividly, unapologetically, to really step into your power by going on stage, so to say, and expressing that part of yourself, but something's holding you back. They don't have that naturally, that they're 100% sure about themselves and they're just self-confident naturally and they do it, but they all of them have the potential to do that, and they are creative and energetic in nature. Sometimes it needs some inner work and some stepping forward, stepping into their power to actually live in that expression, but they all inherent it. What they also share is that they are usually natural rebels. They always had this little rebel inside who wants to change the world or wrap the system around, do things differently, question rules, question beliefs, or something like that. They usually question a lot. They are like, why is this? Why do we have to do this? Why is it so and not so? And they just rebel against things that they don't understand or that makes no sense to them on an emotional level. So an on-stage light worker typically in school rebels against rules that don't make sense for them because they're like, why are these rules there? It doesn't even make sense. It's just an authority thing that makes no sense. And they naturally rebel against authority that has no purpose or that is not making sense for the collective. And the biggest thing is that they usually experience a spiritual awakening. So at one point in their lives, they go through a spiritual awakening, and most likely they even awaken to the term light worker or to that identity that is connected to it. Light worker is just a word to describe a certain energy that souls have within themselves to help raise the vibration, help humanity ascend, all that. It's just a word that we humans use. So it's not something, I wouldn't give it too much value in that sense. It's just a word. Like there's so many different people and so many different souls that you could call light workers. But awakening to that term and identifying with that term is a tool for us, is a tool for our souls to understand our mission here better. So that is what usually happens with on-stage lightworkers. They awaken spiritually, and they also awaken to the term lightworkers, or another term would be starseeds. They identify themselves as starseeds, which just means that they have lived on other realms and in other dimensions, on other planets before, and have ET connections, which is the case for most people, but not everyone is aware of it. So lightworker is a trigger word for us souls to awaken to our mission, to our divine mission. So that is usually something that absolutely happens to on-stage lightworkers. Off-stage lightworkers, however, are completely different. They are lightworkers too, but they are souls with a divine mission that is more private and centered around those in their immediate circle. It's more physical, you could say. This type of light worker usually adapts to their surroundings very well. So they don't question everything. They don't want to break out of the system. They don't want to break out of any box. They are very content and okay in the reality as it is, and they are comfortable in it. They usually become something like a nurse or a devoted mother, a therapist, a paramedic, a volunteer, something that tangibly, physically helps other people and supports them. And they find a lot of purpose in helping those in need. So a lot of their self-confidence and their purpose drivenness comes from helping those in need. They want to help, they have a serving nature. And privately, they often live a quiet and very down to earth life. There is not much space for self-expression or crazy fashion styles or art or anything that is very artistic and expressive. That is usually not even their thing. They don't value that much. What they do is that they tend to self-sacrifice for others. So that is something they need to work on, that they can serve and support others without sacrificing their own time or sacrificing their own health. That is a lesson that they need to learn. But yeah, they tend to do that because their nature is so giving and so loving and so supportive to others. They don't value artistic self-expression that much, and anything that an on-stage light worker would really need for them to thrive, they don't value that much. They don't need that, and they rather want to keep it practical. The on-stage light worker is the artist, and the off-stage light worker is the one that keeps it practical and wants to like feel good in their skin and just have it all practical and not as crazy looking or anything like that. And also the biggest difference between the two is that an off-stage light worker rarely experiences a spiritual awakening. Those are the light workers that don't even know that they are light workers. They are rarely awakening to the term light worker or start to identify with it. They rarely awaken spiritually to any capacity. They are meant to be fully immersed in the human experience and serve their mission and fulfill their purpose in that. They are not even meant to spiritually awaken. And that is not worse than being an on-stage light worker. It's just a very different way of a soul fulfilling her purpose. And when you look at those two types in comparison, it can easily happen that you only see the on-stage light workers, because like the name said, they are on stage, they show themselves, they present themselves also as light workers, as someone who wants to help humanity on a spiritual level. While the off-stage light workers are more under the radar, they don't even know how powerful they are themselves and what important soul mission they are fulfilling while doing their work, while living their simple life, while being in their jobs and in the matrix and in the system. They are just comfortable there because they are not meant to break out of it, because we need them in the system to be able to hold the frequency there too. Like I said in the beginning, the people who feel drawn to my kind of work and my self-expression, I'm an on-stage light worker for sure. So I usually attract other on-stage light workers to work with me, and they want to learn from me or they want to be in my energy, and that's what I naturally attract. But it doesn't mean that one is better than the other or one is more valuable than the other. It's just that the off-stage light workers, we don't see them that much. The on-stage light workers are more flashy, and we can perceive them because we're meant to do that. They're meant to trigger people or awaken things in them and activate things in them. They just have a really, like, the two have a really different approach of doing the same thing, which is serving humanity and holding the vibration high. So let me know if my assumption that you most likely resonate with the description of an on-stage light worker was right. Let me know, and I hope you enjoyed this rather short but information-packed episode, and I hope to talk to you next Sunday for a brand new episode. Have a wonderful week until then. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done that yet, so that you do not miss any new episodes. You can also follow me on Instagram and also on TikTok. I'm going crazy on there right now, so definitely check that out. And that being said, talk to you next week.